Just when you thought the whole AI race had its clear frontrunners, a brand new contender has shown up that might just change everything. Today, we're going to break down the memory monster that's challenging the biggest names in the game. For the past couple of years, the AI world has really been dominated by just a handful of giants. When you think about cutting-edge models, names like OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic, they're always top of mind. They've been setting the pace, they've been capturing all the headlines. But, while all of our eyes were fixed on them, a new contender has been quietly emerging from China's booming tech scene. And it's not just playing catch-up, it is making some seriously big waves of its own. So, let's get properly introduced. We're talking about a company called Moonshot AI, and their absolutely incredible new model, Kimi K2-0905. And listen, this isn't just another chatbot. It's a reasoning powerhouse that could seriously change the game. So, who exactly is the team behind this thing? Well, Moonshot AI is a fast-growing startup out of Beijing, and they have a really clear mission: to build AI that can think for longer, that can handle way more complex information. They were already getting known for models that could chew through huge documents at impressive speeds, but their latest creation, it's on a whole other level. And that right there brings us to the very core of what makes Kimi a true memory monster. It all comes down to one single, kind of staggering number that totally redefines the limits of what an AI can process at one time. 256,000. Just let that sink in. That's the number of tokens Kimi can process in a single go. But what does that actually mean? Well, this brings us to a super important idea, the context window. Think of it like the AI's short-term memory. It's the amount of information, which we measure in tokens, and tokens are basically just little pieces of words, that the model can hold in its head at one time to understand what you're talking about and give you a good response. So what does a 256,000 token memory actually look like in the real world? It's enough to feed the AI an entire book and then have a detailed conversation about its themes, its characters, whatever. It could analyze a massive coding project, sift through super dense financial reports, or absorb every single little detail of a long research paper without forgetting what was at the beginning. It's huge. So you're probably wondering, how can a model process that much information without being incredibly slow and crazy expensive to run? That is the billion-dollar question. And the answer? It lies in its remarkably clever design. Kimi uses what's called a mixture of experts, or MOE, architecture. And here's the brilliant part. When your prompt comes in, a smart little router sends it only to the most suitable expert submodels for that specific task. This means only a tiny fraction of the entire model ever has to wake up for any given query. And that is how Kimi gets both its immense power and its incredible efficiency. Okay, so with all that power under the hood, how does Kimi actually stack up against the competition we all know and use every day? Let's take a look. When you look at the raw numbers, the difference is pretty stark. Kimi's max context of 256,000 tokens just dwarfs GPT-4 Turbo's 128,000, and it even blows past Claude 3.5's very impressive 200,000. So while GPT-4 is still a king of general reasoning and Claude is a leader in speed and vision, Kimi's undisputed strength is mastering these massive, long context tasks. I mean, this chart really puts it all into perspective. You can just visually see how significant Kimi's advantage is in the sheer volume of information it can handle at once. That gap, it represents a major leap forward for any task that requires a deep, sustained memory. But here's the thing. It's not just about size. It's also about quality. Kimi's reasoning is nearly on par with GPT-4 Turbo, which is amazing. Plus, Moonshot AI has made some really key improvements. The model is better at following complex instructions, it produces fewer hallucinations, those weird made-up answers, and it writes cleaner, more precise code. So this isn't just a technical achievement, right? The launch of Kimi K2-0905 signals a massive shift in the broader global AI landscape. This quote from our source material really captures the feeling. For years, the story has always been about China catching up to Western AI development. But with a release like this, it's pretty clear that dynamic is changing. They are no longer just following, they're actively pushing the boundaries of what is even possible. This launch reveals a really clear strategic shift. By making Kimi available to developers, Moonshot AI is embracing open innovation. they're focusing on solving this massive context problem and really democratizing AI by giving developers access to power that was once reserved for just a few tech giants. So the takeaway here is unmistakable. If models like GPT-4 and Claude 3.5 represent the best of the West, then Kimi has firmly established itself as a top-tier contender from the East. The field is officially more competitive than it has ever been. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question. With innovations like Kimi popping up, the global AI race is becoming far more complex and a lot less predictable. It's clear this story is no longer one-sided. So what do you think comes next?